Hello, viewers. This is Sincere Michael from Screen News, bringing you my 718 podcast. This is my 718 podcast. Like always, I'm going to speak very loudly, very clearly, and very slowly, teach you the understanding. Also, I try to do my best not to break your heart during this eye podcast recording as well, not to cause any eye feedback as well. And finally, it's your under 18. This eye podcast recording will contain show dot limits. It's your under 18. Once again, it's your under 18. This eye podcast recording will contain show dot limits. It's your under 18. Now, if you're over 18, that means you have to watch this eye podcast recording. Now, let's with this and everything else out the way. Let's get into the let's get into the topic of this podcast. Briefly, so basically, the second part of Wednesday season 2 came out. And I gotta say, I feel like this season. I don't know what the reason why they split this season up. I just felt like they should have. I felt like don't get me wrong here. The season wasn't bad, but I'm just saying I felt like dividing into two parts was not really necessary. So basically for 8 episodes, we've been waiting for a while for season 2 to come out. After the major, after the first after the first season hit off very well. It took a while. Yes, it took a while for us to get season 2 Wednesday, but at the same time, I felt like they couldn't. I felt like this season should have not been split up into 2 seasons, but into 2 parts. But it is what it is. So basically, I gotta say, I'm really this was an okay second season of Wednesday. So basically, the second part delivered where the first part left off. So basically, the second season did a good job. We got some good story parts and whatnot throughout the first and second part of this second season. But I just wish you gotta admit, I just wish that I wish certain characters like Pugsley would have more personality. I know that Pugsley almost every version of Pugsley in live action is always like that. It kind of seems like that naive boy that always meant to be always meant to follow Wednesday. But I wish that we got more personality from Pugsley, because in the anime, almost every version, like I said before in my part 1 video, like every live action version of Pugsley is always seems like that dim-witted boy that always follow, basically always being Wednesday's lackey and always doesn't have a personality. But at least they, don't get me wrong. At least they did give some personality for Pugsley in Wednesday season 2. In the second part, we get to see. In the first part, we did get to see a bit more. A little kind of bit more in Pugsley's personality, and in the first part. In the second part, we get to see, we get to see a little bit more. But I just feel like, he was just, I didn't, I like to see more Pugsley, I don't want to see a dim-witted Pugsley, I don't like how Pugsley is always portrayed as a dim-witted, is a dim-witted who can't do anything without Wednesday. As for Finn, Finn was a good. Finn was honestly, the story part what they did with Finn was very good. also Punk Beach, did have a story plot that that connect in the main story as well. As for the actors who played Grandma and the former principal at Whitmore, I gotta say, she did double duty in this turn. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's really not easy playing two different characters. So basically, because of the actors who played the former principal and Grandma in this second season. Honestly, I feel like Wednesday. Let me get into Wednesday. I feel like Wednesday did learn a bit more to be open to don't let there are things you can control. There are things you can't. You can't always control situations and have situations of people go your way all the time. So basically, I feel like that's the main thing that Wednesday learned in this. Emmett, I feel sorry for Emmett. Emmett, what happened to her? What happened towards her? What happened to her at the end of the season? I hope that we will get a good outcome in season 3. As for Tyler, I really feel sorry to Tyler. Tyler has been through so much throughout this season and in the previous season. So basically, I feel like Tyler was just Tyler has lost so much throughout this season and in the previous season. So basically, I just really felt sorry to Tyler. Honestly, Bianca, I really did feel sorry for Bianca, what she was, what she was going through with her mother and whatnot throughout this season. She was in a tough situation and et cetera, et cetera. So basically, also I also felt like I also felt like Emmett did. I felt like Emmett did Jax wrong and whatnot. Jax was a nice boy who really loved Emmett and whatnot. I felt that it was kind of messed up how Emmett ghosted Jax like that. But it is what it is. So basically, seems like Jax. Jax is like, seems to want to be friends with Emmett now, and basically seems like it seems like there's some spots between Jax and Bianca going on. So basically, that would be a very interesting thing to see and whatnot. As for the Adams, Adams themselves, Luis Gomez was good, and so was Catherine, Catherine Zeta-Jones is Morticia. They did a good job portraying Gomez and Patricia in this second season. So basically, we got to see more a bit. We got to see a bit more of Elise Gomez and more at Captain Denny Jones' Patricia as well. Now, the one thing that I'm hoping for that, after the bench that went down in the second season, I like to see more of how the people feel about Nevermore. After all the events that went down in the first season and the second season, I like to see a bit more backlash for a backlash from the people of Jericho, the town of Jericho, feel about the Nevermore Academy, about the outcast that goes to Nevermore and whatnot. And also, I like to see some more the way that like we got that Rid of Hell for Outcast thing. So basically, I like to see more how the more the world spends when it comes to outcasts and normies in the world of Wednesday. So basically, I like to see some government control, come to Jericho, once the first season starts, I wish to see, like, once school starts up again at Noble, I like to see the government step in, come to Jericho, and we restore the normal people that, we will be here to make sure that no outcasts, no outcasts, there'll be no more incidents between outcasts and normal people. So basically, I'm really hoping that the third season, we get to see the government get involved, and we see the government take about the world in the world, in the world between between outcasts and normal people. So basically, that's what I'm really hoping to see. So anyway, that's just my opinion. This is just my opinion and whatnot. And also, I feel like, once again, the second season didn't feature any LGBT characters. So basically, we did not have any LGBT characters in the second season. In the first season, a lot of people say there's no gay characters, there's no lesbian characters, there's no LGBT characters in the first season. A lot of people complain about that. In the second season, there's no LGBT characters in the second season either. So basically, I'm hoping that we will get to see more, like, hoping that the first season, when the first season ever comes out, I hope we will get some LGBT characters in the first season. And also, I feel like Agnes is the best new character added to the Wednesday series. So basically, Agnes, the girl with the invisible powers, was a good addition to the cast of Wednesday. So basically, I hope to see more of her in season 3. So anyway, that's all I got to say about this season of Wednesday, about the second season of Wednesday. So anyway, what do you guys think about the second part of season two of Wednesday? Good, bad, or just okay? Please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, sign off from Screen Views. 1.